America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you, Vice Chair Paxson. And we do have some guests in the gallery, Scott and Robbie from Spaceport. Good to see you guys this morning. First up on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion to second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Next up is the approval of the minutes from the February 18th meeting, excuse me. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the February 18th meeting.
I second.
I have a motion to second to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up is public comment. We do have one individual signed up for public comment, Mr. Bruce Swingle. Did you mean to sign up for public comment? Oh, perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, City staff, City Manager. I don't see the City Attorney today.
County.
Oh, County, geez, I'm sorry. 2 years really took a toll on me.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. I'm here to discuss the establishment of a minimum conservation pool at Elephant Butte Lake to protect the ecosystem in the lake. As you all know, we've had many years and many efforts of trying to create a minimum pool at the lake. Initially, when we were trying to do it, we were looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 280 to 400,000 acre feet of water, which is pretty consistent with what dead pools are set at dams across the country. That's not a realistic target or goal in Sierra County in 2025 with, environmental changes that we're seeing, the irrigation issues that we have, limited water that we have as well. It's just not feasible. We've worked with our congressional delegation for a number of years in trying to create that pool, and they were just never supportive, but they were very supportive of creating a minimum conservation pool. So what we're looking at is storing at a minimum 5.7% of the water, or approximately 113,000 acre feet. That's a real important number for several reasons, as identified in the paper we put together. And by the way, this was put together through the Chamber of Commerce at Elephant Butte through the leadership of Earl Greer. The 5.7 is important for a lot of reasons. Mainly, that is the level of water. It was by freak accident that was the lowest level the lake got to last year. Toward the end of the year, after irrigation season, ironically, that was the level. It ensures that we have a lake still. Nobody wants 113,000 acre feet of water. We want much more than that. But under the circumstances right now, the political climate and everything involved, we need to make sure that we have a lake that we can count on for the foreseeable future. So that 113,000 acre feet ensures that we have that. It also is the very minimum that the marinas can have and not have to move to their secondary location, which is very cost prohibitive for them to do that on a fairly regular basis. So it's an important number. Hope that you'll support the creation of the minimum conservation pool. And just a plug, you also have the proclamation for the Media Day, and hopefully you'll support that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
Next up, that's all we had for public comment. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda A through D.
I'll second.
I have a motion to second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to presentations and reports, here's the service awards. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Commissioners. Okay, we have a couple today. The first one in the clerk's office with 9 years of service is Courtney Armijo.
Congratulations, Courtney.
Thank you.
Next, also with 9 years of service in detention, is Hector Gomez. Thank you. Next, with 4 years of service in the assessor's office, is Janal, and I'm not going to pronounce her last name because I butcher it. Okay, in the treasurer's office with 8 years of service is Janet Godfrey. That is all, thank you.
Thank you, Manager Vaughn. Next, we will go to department reports, and Sheriff, since you're in the front, we'll go to you first.
Commissioners, Mr. Chair, Madam Manager, I apologize, I printed off my list of things to go over and I left it on my desk, so I'm going to have my laptop up here today. First off, I want to report that all our affidavits required by New Mexico Department of Public Safety ensuring our compliance with our mandatory training, firearms qualifications, and everything that enables us to qualify for our law enforcement protection funds was sent off last month and received in Santa Fe, so we're in full compliance there. I've met with Elephant Butte and Williamsburg and filed the applications for law enforcement protection funds through both of them, and I'll be filing the county for $114,500 today. That's $1,500 per certified deputy, and then the base of $95,000 that every agency in the state gets. We've received all the vehicles we ordered this year. The new ones are scheduled to be upfitted in May. We have 4 F-150s that are in upfitting right now, and we hope to have them back in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting on radios, and they'll be ready to go. So that's going to help our fleet quite a bit. And those are the F-150s from a year and a half ago, just so everybody understands. I recently had a meeting with representatives from Bureau of Land Management, the law enforcement section, regarding numerous complaints and issues on the river south of Williamsburg, as well as some complaints up in the flats. They have agreed to start sending some help up here, hopefully monthly, but at least anytime we have issues, they're going to work with us and get up here so they can enforce some of the regulations that they can enforce that we can't on those lands, and try to help clean up the area a little bit and get some of the trash and vagrancy taken care of. So we're kind of excited about having that, and it's hopefully going to address some of the complaints from several residents I've received over the last few months. I'm currently working on my 25-26 budget. I'll have it ready by the end of this week for Manager Vaughn's review prior to the meetings going in the next couple of months for the commissioners. We've been working with Manager Vaughn and Jessica on cleaning up our grants in the system, and that's going to be great going into the new year as far as having all those line items appropriately set out, and it's going to expedite procurement quite a bit, I believe. And then also we've been working on, when I took office, we had about 70 boxes of older reports dating back from the 1980s to the 1990s and early 2000s. We've been going through those. We've pulled out all the reports that we would be required statutorily to hold on to. We're now working on scanning those into the Terralogic system, and I hope to be in front of the commission next month to with a request to make that the official record so we can discard of 70 boxes in a storage room worth of older reports. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, comments,
No,
questions?
I appreciate it. I just have a comment. I appreciate you taking all the phone calls from people out in these outlying areas. I know a lot of women out there that live by themselves, and when they see somebody traveling, whether it's on private land, BLM, or state, it just, you see them out in the middle of nowhere, and you get concerned when you live by yourself. So thank you. Yes, sir, and I would like to add for anybody who's watching or in the crowd, if those people would call in to dispatch whenever they have these issues or concerns, it would help us greatly. Many times I get a phone call 2 or 3 days after the fact or a text message later that day. It would help us a lot if they would call in to dispatch when these incidents are occurring or they're seeing these things, so we can get a deputy out there when it's happening. But, yes, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Sheriff, I really appreciate your news releases on some of the drug busts that you've successfully undertaken with the patrol of the deputies and the the things that are happening. I think that's really key for our citizens knowing how hard the sheriff's office is working to keep us safe and also make a dent in the drug traffic and the illegal traffic going through on the interstate. So appreciate that.
Yes, sir, and that's all due to the hard work of the deputies at the office. I spend most of my time fighting the keyboard now, but they're doing an amazing job.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Next, we will go to detention with Patrick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Clerk Whitehead, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. The key control policy and key log has been reviewed and revised. We've implemented that at the beginning of every shift. Officers will take a key inventory to try to catch any missing keys. And that's vehicle keys, restricted keys, operational keys, security keys. The storage area, we got a lot of archives as well that we've been stacking up, and hopefully we can dispose of them. They've been scanned already, so hopefully we can get into that of disposal. Also, I'd like to give you a little bit of statistics for the first quarter of '25. And keep in mind, we still have 13 days to complete the quarter. Right now, we're almost at 200 arrests. Comparison to in 2021, we had 130, 137 in 22. In 23, had 101, and last year was 151. So the arrests are happening more and more. It's averaging about 3 to 4 a day for us, and that's about all I have to report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Comments, questions?
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Pat. Go to Candy next, at the treasurer's office.
Andy, next.
Good morning. How's everybody? Wanted to let y'all know that we got all of our delinquent postcards out in February. We did have a good return. Lots of mobile homes being paid as well, which is always our fight with the assessors and treasurers collecting. We have had some really good meetings with Jessica and her finance team concerning our ADP and our new positive pay checking. And things with the bank, everything's going smoothly, everybody's learned their roles, and so we're just kicking along. We are at 69% collection, and that will go up here in a couple of weeks, so. Any questions?
Any comments, questions?
Thank you, Candy.
Thanks, Kate.
Billy?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. It's been a pretty normal month this month, just regular blading in all of our districts. The road crew's been getting all of our roads ready for our LGRF projects. That's coming up here in the month of May and June. We got a couple of roads we're going to be chip sealing. They've been cleaning up some culverts and doing some road patching. Last week, they placed some concrete to fix a much-needed water crossing that's in pretty rough shape, so they're in Monticello, so we kind of got it smoothed out, so it's a lot easier on everybody. And they should be finishing the other half of it this week, weather permitting. We also have the septic lagoons all cleaned out. We got all the stuff cleaned out and hauled off to a little place that we had cleared off that they're letting us spread it out. Pretty close to being done there to where we can fence it off, gate it off, put signs up, and we got to leave it for 5 years, I think, before the nitrogen load gets low enough we can open it back up. Park Hill Environmental has a contractor out there right now since yesterday cutting up the liner and loading it into some roll-offs, and they're going to haul it down to Corlitos. We're also working with Bohoinen Engineering to try to get some kind of a plan set up to go after some more funding for Sugar Sand Bridge. We didn't quite get funded for it last year, so we're going to try a different approach this year, I think, a little bit. And also, we installed 2 new cattle guards in Ingle last week for a rancher, and I think that's all I got for anything. I'll stand for questions.
Commissioners, any comments?
Oh, thank you, Billy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Billy. Keith?
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. Pretty normal month, a couple more applications for new addressings in the county. About a dozen more address verification letters for various purposes. I have an appointment next week with the City of TRC to go over some errors that are in addressing and roads that we want to try and get straightened out for the next gen update for next gen 911. I did prepare this road certification map for 2025 for Billy. We did vacate a portion of Macho Road this last year, so the mileage went down. It was reduced by 1.4 miles. So our total for this year is 565.1 miles. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Commissioners, any comments, questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mickey?
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. Tomorrow, there will be a SCRTA board meeting at 10 a.m. here at the office. Commissioner Day, I know you asked about legislative updates. The two that we've been working on affiliate and myself, House Bill 173, or Senate Bill 173, I just don't see it making the floor. It did pass first. It was supposed to go to the Finance Committee, but there's a lot of other things that have been going on that's going to stall that. This is a reclassification of 911 dispatchers. So also House Bill, or Senate Bill 137, which was the surcharge, which was, we didn't have any issues with that. Unfortunately, Saturday, it was the bill to be heard right after the Family Medical Leave Act, and because of what happened there, they just closed it up. So we didn't get heard. So we're trying to jump through hoops to get it back to the Finance Committee. If we can just get that there, get on the Senate floor, then we should be good, but we have 4 days. So we're a little worried about that one because that's the one we needed for our next gen to increase our funding, 911 funding. It was just an increase of 49 cents. So we'll see where we're going to be on that one. Last Wednesday, Motorola was down and gave myself, Keith was with me, presentation on our new next gen 911 system. It is being delayed, not just Sierra County, but over the state. We wanted a launch date for March. It's just, there's so much. SCRTA's ready to go. There was just one demarc that they needed to replace that's on their end, which is not a major issue. But we were fortunate to look at the new upgrades, the new next gen 911. It's incredible. It's going to be life-saving time, it's going to work well with our first responders. Some of our first responders are going to be able to see what we see now. So we're real excited for that to get in, but we don't have a date as of yet. So, but Sierra County is one of the top ones to go first. And of course, that's in best regards to Mr. Whitney over there, who has got us up to date on our mapping system and all that. So I'm really excited about that. And that's all I have.
Any comments, questions? Thank you, Mickey.
Thank
you, Mickey. Ryan?
Chairman, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. It's that time of the year for compliance testing, inspections, and audits, so we've been pretty busy since mid-January. But we just completed all of our fire marshal office inspections for every department, where they comb through every everything, the paperwork, the admin side, all the gear, and also a compliance testing for trucks, equipment, PPE, hose, ladders. It's a long, thorough process, but we know that we're staying up to par with all our departments and all our gear. Also, this year, the state they're doing a para audit, a deep audit on para. I've been buried in that because with 125 firefighters, we have to go through and make sure all their socials match up, make sure that they're actually active in the department, because there's a lot of, I'll just say, we need to trim the fat across the state, because there's a lot of individuals that are claiming para that aren't associated with the fire departments anymore. And this audit will reveal our exact numbers, and the plan is to increase the monthly benefits for para, which would be great, because, 20, 25 years of service credit, and they're only getting a minimal amount. This would be a good audit to know, because, there's departments that probably claiming their cats and their dogs on para, so it's good to clean up. I've seen some of the lists across the state. It's pretty frightening. Let's see, the Kingston Fuels Reduction Defensible Space Contract. Dave Pato put it together. Isaac and I reviewed with Manager Vaughn. It will be in Jornada Resource Conservation Development's hands tomorrow for signature. The letters will go out to the homeowners this week, the letters of interest. So the ball will be rolling on that project. A little delayed just because we were just making sure we were following procurement code, but letters will go out this week, and then we'll have saws running here, I'd say, in a week or two in Kingston, cleaning it up. They're doing a lot of work up there. The Forest Service has been doing some really good work, too, for thinning. The slash pit reported this morning is 1/3 to 1/2 full just from homeowners doing projects on their own, which is really good. Good buzz. And I hope they have room for us to put all of our debris in there. Let's see, last Wednesday, the MOU with Truths or Consequences for Criminal Services was approved, which is good. We've already got projects going on there for emergency management services. A lot of good projects going on. Let's see, new members. The trend of new members joining some of the fire departments, it's growing. Fingers crossed it keeps going, but we've picked up 5 in Hillsborough, about 18 in Winston, 10 are active in Monticello, so there's some of our departments that we're really needing membership. So it's been a national crisis, but I hope the trend keeps going for recruitment. Keeping an eye on legislative session. There's some things, it's our last week. We'll see if things get approved, if things get dissolved, but hopefully the ones that we need go through. And as you can hear outside, it's a no burn day, and it's going to be that way more frequently. Dry, windy, the forecast is not good, as Tony James said from Forest Service last commission meeting. It's not looking good for us, but we're just keeping, I'm enforcing more and more burn days. And that's, to save people from out-of-pocket expenses for damages. Every fire that we've had, we're having a couple pop off every week, is all human caused. And I think it's due to negligence and just, not educated about it. So I'm pushing it out on social media. I'm trying to get it further and further out there just so people are aware, because we get a good start, then we're looking at a pretty bad incident. So that's all I have. I'll stand for any questions.
Comments, questions?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Ryan, are we considering a fire closure for fire season until we get rain?
So the burn ordinance, historically, we would do them. I did one in 2021, 2022, 23 and 24 we didn't. I go day by day just to make sure, but the ordinance creates a permitting process, and I will get overwhelmed in the morning with people calling in for permits, because you have to process the call, you have to process the paperwork, you take it into dispatch, then you put it on the board. And a lot of times, that's the honor system, right? Folks are going to use that, and that's good. We have accountability, but now they're doing that actively without a permit. They're calling dispatch, their name's on the board, it's logged into the CAD. It's the ones that do it negligently and dishonestly that, I don't think we'll ever capture. I've looked into it. I think we might do it, but it is a lot of legwork and administrative duties to do the ordinance. Now, the fireworks ban, we need to think about 30 to 60 days out in advance, because...
We're going to have rain by then.
Got you. I admire your optimism, Commissioner Hopkins.
He said
I know, you
something.
just.
Yeah. If you could call the National Weather Service and tell them that, I'd appreciate it. Yeah. The firework ban is a big one just because it's the aerial devices that I'm concerned on. It seems to be working out well the last couple of years, just doing day-by-day burn bans. It's exhausting doing the permitting process. And those are the ones that are following, the ordinance, following our policy. But it's the ones that just, hey, I'm exempt, I'm going to do this. And, we had an agricultural burn last week that the individual said, we're exempt, we're agriculture, we can burn, but El Paso Electric seems otherwise, because when you take out 2 poles, you got a $12,000 fine and for repair costs. So that's why I'm trying to save folks the heartache and the financial burden, because no one's.
Me.
It wasn't Commissioner Strong. Yeah, so I think public education and outreach is the strongest form right now. And it's working. I get a lot of calls. I field them every day. I just had one in there earlier. But yeah, public education outreach is our best form of making sure folks follow. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Any additional?
Nope.
No, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Finish up with Ernie.
Morning. It's my favorite time of year, the wind blowing. We are working every morning to get that front of the building clean for you. We won't hit it until tomorrow morning early again, but it's a daily thing. We've been working with the guys down in Array for the ball field, trying to schedule the waterings to where they're earlier in the mornings and drying out more for when they're out there playing. I think we got all that scheduled out right. We did help Ryan with a bunch of stuff he got from the veterans home up there, and we put it in our Connex and got all that. Made some room for him for that. Health office, we removed an old an antique water fountain, pulled it out of the wall. We closed the wall back up. There's no need to put one back in there, so they were good with us just closing it up. So we got all that painted and finished up this morning. I'll stand for any questions.
No questions?
Thank you.
Ernie, who's doing the fencing this side of the ball field towards the onion shed?
I haven't looked at that yet. Talking about right across the street?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who owns that.
I stopped and walked around the ball field. Man, that looks good.
Thank you.
That's, y'all, really, that's a feather in you and your staff's cap, and I know the citizens of Array and such really appreciate that. And visiting with Matt Feltz, they're going to use that for the TRC Little League some this summer too. So we will go down there to some of their games, and they'll come up here for some. So that's just a good stroke for the county.
Yep, they've been holding softball tournaments and stuff there as well. So they had a really big one here a couple weeks back. We had some bathroom issues. We needed to get an extra one out there. There's a lot of people showed up for that. So,
That's a good thing.
yeah, it was. It was really good, and a lot of great compliments of the park. Everybody's enjoying it, and they are using it. So it's very good. We do need to put some concrete poles up around the trash cans. We've already had somebody run over one. We've had somebody knock over one of the barbecue grills. I mean, it's just happens, I guess. Public.
Was that you?
No,
That's about all we got. Were you down there? Okay, that's all I got.
thank you, Ernie.
Thank you.
Manager Vaughn, anything to report this
I
month?
do. I have a couple items to report on. So construction officially kicked off yesterday at the fairgrounds. They had been doing some little work, but it looks like they were out there yesterday doing some work. I am working on an update on the website for our projects so that we will have money spent, where we're at, just regular updates on there. March 25th, we will be having a meeting in Hillsborough to discuss the master drainage plan. It's at 5:30 at the Hillsborough Community Center on the 25th of March. The Arroyo Flood District Board meeting will be this Thursday at 10:30. Prior to that, at 10 a.m., we'll be doing the swearing in of the board members. A couple of members of staff mentioned getting rid of paper documents. We are working on an electronic document plan that has to be approved by the state to move our documents from paper to electronic. Dave and I have worked on that, and we'll get it over to the state so they can approve so that we can get rid of some of those files. We have upgraded the internet to fiber and detention, and we're working on it in admin right now, so that should get rid of some of our connectivity issues. Yesterday, I worked with the Hillsborough Community Center to submit a grant application to repair the stucco on the building, and I have submitted that to the state. And that is all I have.
Commissioners, comments, questions?
I've got a quick question on the fairgrounds.
Sure.
So the construction company knows that our county fair is in October, and they assure you that's not going to be a problem?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything additional? No, that's it. Thank you. Commissioners, any reports this month?
Nope.
No. The only thing I have to report is just a couple legislative pieces, and I know Commissioner Paxton is involved in some of those as well. And Mickey mentioned House Bill 11, which is a paid family medical leave. That was tabled, not tabled, just died in committee on Saturday. So I know Manager Vaughn was working pretty hard on coming up with a program for the county to exempt us from participating in that, and so that'll have to be put off for another year, which is a good thing for us. The other one is related to Spaceport, and I know we have some representatives from Spaceport here, and that was House Bill 396. That was restructuring the Spaceport Tax Board. And for those that aren't aware of that bill, the current makeup of the tax board is 2, 2, and 2, I guess. 2 representatives from Sierra County, 2 from Doniana, and then 2 state representatives appointed by the governor. This bill would have restructured that to where Doniana would have 4 representatives, Sierra County would have 1.
And no state reps.
And no state reps. And so it completely restructured the board to give all the authority to Doniana. That was tabled in committee about 3 weeks ago. There was a lot of concerns and questions with that bill, and I think what it opened up is the need for more discussions with that board and how we move forward in a cordial way. And I think we just have an individual that's not happy that sits on that board and was trying to change the legislation to get more votes in his direction. So that was tabled luckily, and so we will just continue to watch that as it moves forward. I know Chairman Small and Chairman Gallegos were interested in having a interim hearing to just kind of discuss the issue and how the Spaceport works closely with the tax board and vice versa. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that during the interim after the legislative session. So I just wanted to put that out there and thank you to Vice Chair Paxton, who sits as the chairman of that board, and working really hard to see if we can get some compromise, not only that legislation, but some other Spaceport legislation. So thank you for that. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get across the board with the other Spaceport bill, but we'll just live with what we got.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
We really need to thank Gail Armstrong. I had like a 2-minute conversation with her before that hearing, and she is a warrior. She took the individual who sponsored the bill on personally and called him out, and with her remarks, that was tabled 10-0, and that's, I think, probably pretty historic. Sure. So she really recognizes the importance and the potential for economic development of Spaceport, and even though she's on the other side of the mountain, so to speak, she still sees the need and represents us very well.
Well said. That's all I had to report. If there's anything else, Commissioners, we'll move on. We move on to the Board of Finance, the February reconciliation. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the February reconciliation.
I
I
second.
have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no old business on the agenda. Moving on to new business. Contracts, agreements, and procurement. Item A is mutual aid for fire and rescue and emergency medical services agreement. Manager Vaughn, and then I think Ryan's going to come up if there's.
Yeah, actually, this
Oh,
handed over
go
to
to
Ryan.
We're just updating and establishing our current mutual aid agreements with our surrounding counties. Some of them were out of date, and some of them we didn't even have established. So Grant County got that pushed through, which is good. Waiting on Catron, and then Socorro. We've already had one with Doniana for the last year and a half, so just trying to make sure we're all current, just the way the situation are, we're covered liability-wise. Any questions?
Comments, questions?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the mutual aid for the fire and rescue and emergency medical service agreement.
I'll second.
I have a motion to second to approve the agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Item B is agreement between the County of Sierra, Bar2 Sand and Gravel, and Hawley Asphalt. And we'll go to our procurement officer, Isaac.
Good morning, Commissioners. Manager Vaughn. Got a couple of things on the agenda this morning. Should be an easy one to start out with for the road materials. We're splitting this up into 4 different purchases for just our budgeting between the 2 companies. And then the prices have been set already. With Bartu, we already have a contract with them, and then for Holly, that's under state price agreement. So it should be good under procurement standpoint, just a little bit weird with the budgeting, how we're splitting it up. But that should be it for the first one.
Comments, questions?
No.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between the County of Sierra and Bartu Sand and Gravel and Holly Asphalt.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C is the agreement between that word and the County of Sierra.
Pictometry.
Pictometry.
What is it?
Pictometry?
Pictometry.
How do you say it?
I think it's pictometry, and I think I put a typo in there. It is pictometry.
We'll just abbreviate it, PIC.
There you go.
Yeah. It is, this is for the assessor's office. This one is actually a little bit more confusing, that we have agreed to this 3 years ago. This was a contract that we had signed then, and we had set up multiple projects at that time, and we have completed the first project. The second project is due to start. We have already approved the budget for this one. We have a couple of MOUs as well with, I believe it is with TRC and Williamsburg to also get in on the assessor's documentation, essentially. So this is just an information that we've already approved this, but since it's over 60,000, I just wanted to let everybody know so that we're not approving any large budget items without at least informing the public. So I'm not sure if any agreement is actually necessary here, since we've already approved this 3 years ago, just informational.
Let's just go ahead and get it on record anyway, since we have it as an action item. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the agreement between Pictometry and the County of Sierra.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Item D is agreement between Brick Drones and the County of Sierra. Isaac.
Rink drones, yes. We have another one, all these crazy things. That this one is just over $60,000 over the course of 3 years, that it is a drone for the sheriff's office. Has a lot more features. I know we had a previous drone contract in place. We have canceled that. It is no longer being utilized, and it was not useful for the sheriff's office. We're going to be moving forward with this one. It also includes, after 2 years, we get a hardware update and training upgrade as well. Refresh, I would say. So it's a lot better value for the county than the previous drone. It has a lot more features in it that really help. It does live transcription and translations for a lot of things. A lot of really good features in here that I'm also really excited about. I'm sure Sheriff Baker's excited about. But pretty standard, just over $60,000 for this one too.
Sheriff, anything you want to add, or?
Yeah, just real quick. So my intent is to utilize my law enforcement protection funds. Currently, like I said earlier, we're getting about $114,500 annually from the state for LEPF funding. I intend to use $20,000 of that over the course of the next 3 years to fund this program. The drone program has been probably the best tool we've added in the last 3 years as far as being able to run surveillance on these armed standoffs, barricades, search and rescue. The applications are pretty much unlimited on how we utilize it, and this specific drone is totally compliant with being American-made and meeting all the federal requirements there. It will give us the ability to communicate two-way communications through this drone, as well as it has mapping software in it, so if we fly it inside of a house, it will actually blueprint the house for us, live feed as it's going through. It's a pretty amazing product and enhances the safety to the deputies and our capabilities to serve our community. So I think it's going to be a great program.
Thanks, Sheriff. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Are we to the point that it requires a FAA certification for flying the drones?
Yes and no. So under emergency circumstances, no, there are some exemptions for us, but we are currently sending slowly all of our deputies through the, I think it's Part 107 The certification class for that, you can take it online. It's about a 2-day class, and then you can take the test and get your certification, and we're getting all of our deputies through that. So whoever's working at the time is capable of launching and utilizing the drone when necessary.
With that investment, and I read the description, the capabilities of this thing are just insane. I mean, that it can drop messages and retrieve, and if it goes over backwards, it'll turtle crawl its way out. I mean, stuff I've never even thought of is in this package, so I think this is really an appropriate expenditure. I just want your deputies to be able to utilize it fully, and I'm glad that you're doing the training for all of them, because the head drone guy might not be available when you need it, so I think that's very wise.
Yes, sir. And currently, we have 2 separate guys that are very proficient with the drones we currently have, and we're working to increase that to about 5 or 6, just depending on the application and who's where when these incidents kick off. Another great thing about this contract is if we fly in a house and somebody shoots it with a shotgun, it's no questions asked, free replacement. So
that's good.
if they beat it down with a baseball bat, we get a free replacement. So
Good.
Neat.
Good job. Thanks.
Thank you. There's nothing additional. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agreement between Brink Drones and the County of Sierra Sheriff's
second.
Department.
I have a motion to second to approve the agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Isaac. Moving on to resolutions, ordinances, and proclamations. Item A is Resolution 2025-23, Sierra County Road Miles. We'll go to Manager Vaughn.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Billy and Keith to present this item, please.
Yeah, this is just a formality we do every year for the state, just notification, to them. And Keith usually does a really good job getting it all set up, so.
Anything to add, Keith?
No, like I said earlier, we did have the short vacation on Maka Road, B002, from this last year as a request by one of, or a couple of the landowners. So our mileage did reduce by 1.4 miles, to a total of 565.1.
Comments, questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-23, Sierra County Road Miles 2025.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Keith. Next up, we'll go to item B is Resolution 2025-24, transferring the balance of the CLLA funding and operations from Sierra County to Catcherd County. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. So last month, DFA approved the amended JPA agreement to move the fiscal agency from Sierra County to Catcherd County. We are approving the transfer of $195,185.33, which is the cash balance in that account at this moment. And I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, any comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, this has been a work in progress since July of '24. It's taken a considerable amount of time, and I think it just needs to be noted that the Department of Finance Authority sat on this for 2 months or so, and their excuse was they were too busy with legislative affairs. I don't think that's a good way for government to operate. I think it will resolve some issues with the CLLA, and I know it's going to take a considerable headache away from Manager Vaughn. So I think this is a wise move and a positive result of over a year of negotiation.
Thank you, Vice Chair Paxton. And I also want to just give a big thank you to Secretary of Ag, Jeff Whitty, because I know he was on it up in Santa Fe.
He
and
helped
I had
us.
a number of conversations.
He helped us, he
about
did.
getting it switched over, so kudos to him. And he's also wanting to get that kind of cleaned up for some of his department folks as well. So
Yep.
I think this is a really good thing. This is something we have talked about for gosh, probably been longer than a year.
Yeah.
About switching this over and getting it out of the books of Sierra County and getting it over to Katrin. So
That's good.
we'll let them manage the funds. Again, most of the depredations you sit on the board are in Katrin County, so I think it just makes sense to switch that fiscal agency over
Oh, good
to
deal.
them. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-24, transferring the balance of CLLA funding and the fiscal agency from Sierra to Catron County.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C is Resolution 2025-25, transferring Sierra County Road AO 13 to the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I prepared a brief PowerPoint to go over the roads that will be exchanged. So this has been years in the making. I think it started with Bruce, of changing Upham Road, AO 13, from Sierra County to the state since it benefits Spaceport and it needs some work. So part of that deal is that we'll be taking over some of the roads. The first one is the frontage road, 2027 from exit 189. It's 1 mile. So that's just the exit up to that curve. The next item is New Mexico Highway 142. It's 10.086 miles, and it is diagrammed in your handout and on the screen.
Thank you.
So that shows where that is at. The next one is New Mexico Highway 181, and it is 10.492 miles, also diagrammed on there. And the last one is New Mexico 436, and it's a half a mile. So the exchange, I believe it's around 28 miles they're taking over, and we're taking a little bit under that. So that is what the exchange is. This has been ongoing for a long time, and in your packet, there's the resolution that NMDOT has asked us to pass. There will also be a letter for you to sign, because there's two portions of roadway. One goes through state land, one is not, so they require two different items. So that, I'll stand for any questions on that.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? Billy, anything you want to add, or you good? Commissioners, there's no comments, questions? I know this has been another long process, so I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025, transferring Sierra County Road A013 to the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item D is Resolution 2025-26, requesting a conservation pool at Elephant Butte Lake. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I'll ask Commissioner Paxton to help me out on this. Him and Attorney Pato drafted this resolution to, and as Bruce alluded to earlier, to set a conservation pool at the Elephant Butte Lake to protect the species. And I'll hand it over to Jim if he would like to add anything.
Yes, I think Mr. Swingle gave a very good summary in the public comment, but we've tried for a minimum pool for years and years and years before you and I got on the commission. I think the first resolution goes back to like 1995. The 2019 resolution still has a minimum pool that's politically dynamite. A lot of people are gonna have a knee-jerk reaction to minimum pool, but even the enviros have a hard time arguing against a conservation pool. When we draw this lake down to 3%, it really disrupts the spawning cycle in fish, multiple species. It disrupts shorebirds making nests and laying eggs. It has effects on the plant in the lake. And when we draw it down so you can't get any more water out, that's just really damaging to the ecosystem. So with this requesting establishment of a conservation pool, we're moving in a forward, see some progress, protect the lake. There's a lot of water that's stored upstream from us. And one of the things that I would like is if we pass this resolution, it needs to be sent to all our congressional delegation, to the BOR, the office in Albuquerque, as well as the office here at Elephant Butte, to conservation, or anything that has anything to do with water flowing into Elephant Butte. We want to send them that the county commission stands behind this, because it's important for the ecology of the lake and the citizens that depend on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins, anything you want to?
No, I'm good.
No, and I want to just echo that this has been an effort that's been ongoing, and I think previously when we looked at that 400,000 acre feet as the minimum,
Yeah.
even I kind of took a step back of,
Yeah.
that's not realistic. If that's a goal we're shooting for, we're setting ourselves up to fail.
Yep.
So I think this 113,000 acre feet of water is very reasonable, and I think it's something that the farmers down south can get behind, because I know when that 400,000 acre number was thrown up, the farmers down south were a
Yeah,
little
that's
leery
why-
of it,
yeah.
because it is for irrigation, and so I think this is something they can get behind. I actually think this is something that some of the environmental groups can get behind, and I know we always want to keep them at, arm's length on a lot of issues, but if we can come together and work to get a conservation pool established at Elephant Butte, I think that's something we can all get behind. I do think the effort does also need to look at how water is managed above Elephant Butte. If you look at that San Marcial reach, from San Marcial down to Elephant Butte, it's a train wreck as far as management. No one knows how much water is lost in between that stretch there. And so I think there's an effort to talk to Bureau of Reclamation to look at how we move water from, the New Mexico border, Colorado, New Mexico border down to Elephant Butte. And I think there's some efforts that can be done as far as invasive species management. I'd even like to see that low-flow channel come all the way down into Elephant Butte. Personally, I think that's something that probably a lot of groups can't get behind, but I think there's just a lot of opportunity to get more water into Elephant Butte. But I think a big part of it is establishing that conservation pool and making any project we do above Elephant Butte a wildlife project, I guess, for, instead of a water delivery project, it's a wildlife habitat project or whatever it may be. However, we need to spin the words to get it accomplished, I think, is we need to just get creative in doing that. It's certainly something I can get behind.
I'm sorry to
Go-
interrupt
no,
you.
you're good.
What is the current acre feet now as of today? Does anyone know in Elephant View?
I don't know.
Rattlesnake Island's an island again, so it's above 113,000. Last I heard, it was 12%, but that was a week ago, so I imagine it's up 1% or 2% from that, because there is an inflow right now.
So just looking at it, 13.6% is what it says for today. 13.6.
Okay. Very good.
There's nothing additional. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-26, requesting a conservation pool at Elephant Butte Lake.
A second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving on to item E, Resolution 2025-27, establishing fees pursuant to the New Mexico Records Act. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This item does not replace the IPRA resolution. I know there was some confusion on that. This is a separate one. According to NMSA 1978, Section 14.814, provides that records maintained in the office of the county clerk are available for search without charge during regular business hours. But this is for items that are asked the clerk to search and someone isn't coming in. The county clerk's office incurs costs with the employees and the time that is required for them to do the research. This resolution will allow the county clerk to charge a fee of $35 per hour for employee time spent conducting searches on real property. On the second page is a list of the fees, so it's $35 an hour. The copies and everything are the same as the IPRA resolution. Requesters may still search for records in the clerk's office free of charge during regular business hours. The county clerk's office may require advance payment of fees before conducting searches or providing copies of requested records. Any excess funds paid by the requester shall be refunded. If the actual cost exceeds the estimated amount, an additional cost estimate will be provided. This resolution will take effect immediately after adoption. And I'll stand for any questions.
Clerk, anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, we're not licensed and bonded to do big searches, so we don't do it often anyway, but, it does happen, and so it does take a lot of our time.
Commissioners, anything? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-27, establishing fees pursuant to the New Mexico Records Act.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Moving on to item F, Resolution 2025-28, reappointing 2 members to the Sierra Vista Hospital Governing Board. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. This resolution is to reappoint Serena Bartu and Shawnee Williams, to the Sierra Vista Hospital Board starting June 1st. They have served 3 years already, and this would be giving them an additional 3 terms.
Commissioners, comments, questions?
I talked to both Serena and Shawnee. They've done a really good job. They've been a balance on the governing board. I think that Mr. Swingle can attest to that. They've served the county well, and they are both willing to do another 3 years.
Mr. Hopkins, anything?
No, I'm good with it.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2025-28, reappointing 2 members to the Sierra Vista Hospital Governing Board.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2 appointees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item G is Resolution 2025-29 budget adjustment. We'll go to our Finance Director, Jessica.
Good morning, Commissioners, Manager Vaughn. Today's resolution to amend the fiscal year 25 budget has a few items. The first being an amendment to the revenue and expenditures for the state SP and CAP funding for the roads department. This stems from the January amendment to those contracts where there was a match waiver. The next is Stone Garden funding. We're amending the revenue and corresponding accounts to actuals for their FY23 and FY24 funding. The third item is the law enforcement appropriation. I believe that is for this one. It's the bonuses for Sheriff's Office, I apologize. For the LURF funding, yes. The fourth item is a correction to the location of the fairgrounds funding. We're simply placing the expenditure in the correct account. And then the fifth item is the increase in the expenditure account for the lagoon closure for the Park Hill contract. And that is the last item I have. Stand for any questions.
Commissioners, comments, questions? No. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2025-29 budget adjustment.
I'll second.
I have a motion to second to approve the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Item H is proclaiming March 25th to be Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort Day in Sierra County. Manager Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Sierra County met in a regular meeting on March 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in the Sierra County Administration Office at 1712 North Date Street, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, 87901. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Sierra exercises the powers of the county as a body politic and corporate pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 438(1). And whereas the Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort is making a monumental contribution to the economic vitality of Sierra County and the state of New Mexico, fostering growth, investment, and prosperity for the region. Whereas the Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort is creating hundreds of new jobs during the construction of more than 1,300 home sites and will continue generating employment opportunities throughout its long-term operations, strengthening local economy for generations to come. And whereas Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort is enhancing the active lifestyle of southern New Mexico by sponsoring the prestigious New Mexico Open Golf Tournament, bringing statewide recognition to Sierra County as a premier golf and recreation destination. And whereas the investment, development, and commitment demonstrated by Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort contributes to the long-term economic, recreational, and community enrichment of Sierra County and its residents. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Sierra County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim March 25th, 2025 as Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort Day in Sierra County and encourage all residents, businesses, and visitors to acknowledge and celebrate the profound impact of Turtleback Mountain Golf Resort and our county's future. Thank you.
Commissioners, anything? Bruce, do you want to add anything, if you're interested?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. I can't really sum up any more than what you did in the proclamation. It sounds great. I do need to get a head count of how many of you will actually be there. I don't know, maybe you've already RSVP'd or not. I know they've had through most of the governments are responding rather slowly.
So I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
All of you, thank you very much, and hopefully you'll support the resolution, or proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we just need to be sure to get that quorum.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Commissioners, comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the proclamation of March 25th to be Turtleback Mountain Golf and Resort Day.
I second.
I have a motion and a second approving the proclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is passed. Next up, we will go to executive session. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into executive session according to authority in Section 10 through 15, E through H, to talk about the State Land Office and Spaceport lease and two litigations.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Madam Clerk, we have a roll call.
Commissioner Day?
Yes,
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
we're in executive session. We will now come out of executive session. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we come out of executive session. The only things discussed were those on the list, and we do have one action item.
A second?
I have a motion, a second. Can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Day?
Yes.
Commissioner Paxson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The only thing we have on open session is the consideration of spaceport, or state land office and spaceport lease. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the state lands lease for Spaceport.
I second?
I have a motion, a second, to approve the lease. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
thank you, gentlemen, for being here, and we appreciate working with the state land office. Spaceport is a huge asset to Sierra County and Doñana County, and we look forward to the progress in the future. And may we move towards orbital space flights and maybe Space Force joining us here in Sierra County. So appreciate your efforts in securing another lease. With that, Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
I second.
A motion, a second, to adjourn. We're adjourned.